the beach, with its sunlit waves and tranquil shores, promises leisure and serenity. Yet, beneath its glimmering surface, shadows move that remind us that nature's beauty often conceals its dangers. Sharm El-Sheikh, a paradise along Egypt's Red Sea coast, learned this lesson in December 2010 when the waters turned from crystalline blue to a harrowing shade of crimson. Sharm El-Sheikh had long been a haven for divers and snorkelers because of its vibrant corals and over 1,000 species of exotic fish. Yet, that December, its allure was overshadowed by an unseen danger. What began as the perfect holiday for tourists turned into a scene from their worst nightmares. Nina Dzinski, 46, from Wigan, England, lay sunbathing on the warm sands, having just emerged from snorkeling near the beach. The stillness of the day shattered with frantic shouts in Russian, slicing through the air. "Shark! Shark!" Chaos erupted as vacationers sprinted from the water, their faces twisted in fear. Among them was Nina's husband, Jaroslav, 49, who had been swimming when the predator struck. Everyone scrambled. People clawed their way onto the jetty, desperate to escape, but for one man, escape came too late. Mohammed Rashad, a barman at the nearby Al-Bar beach restaurant, witnessed the horrifying aftermath. Blood streaked down the victim's leg as he staggered from the water, leaving a grisly trail in his wake. The sea had turned red from his blood. As if the first attack weren't enough, minutes later, the shark struck again. A diver from a local rescue team pulled another victim from the blood-tinged waters. 4 men carried him to safety. His hand was barely attached, hanging by a sliver of skin. The once bustling beach emptied in moments, the cheerful sounds of vacationers replaced by a chilling silence. Terrified tourists retreated to their hotels, abandoning sunbeds and even the shoreline. The sparkling waters, once inviting, now seemed ominous, a stage for something ancient and deadly. For Sharm El-Sheikh, this was not an isolated incident. The previous day, the same predator had struck, leaving 4 injured, 3 Russians and a Ukrainian, with gruesome wounds to their limbs and backs. The victims were rushed to hospitals in Cairo, their fates uncertain. Reports described severed limbs, backs clawed open, and lives forever scarred. The predator was identified as an oceanic white-tip shark, a species as graceful as it is formidable. In response, Egyptian authorities acted swiftly. The beaches were closed, and conservation teams deployed to capture the culprit. By the end of the week, 2 sharks were caught and dissected, their stomach contents examined for grisly clues. One, authorities claimed, matched the description of the killer photographed by a diver just moments before the attacks began. But the damage was already done. The vibrant beaches of Sharm El-Sheikh, once filled with laughter and the soft murmur of waves, were now deserted. Visitors packed their bags, vowing never to return. Those who stayed avoided the water entirely, clinging instead to the safety of shaded bars and cold drinks, their gazes fixed warily on the restless sea. While shark attacks are rare, statistically improbable even, they evoke a primal fear that transcends logic. In the U.S., the odds of being attacked by a shark are 1 in 11.5 million, and the chances of such an attack proving fatal are less than 1 in 264 million. Yet, when the unthinkable happens, those cold numbers mean little. Fear grips the imagination, fed by tales of fins slicing through the water, of sudden, brutal strikes. For the survivors of the Sharm El-Sheikh attacks, the idyllic paradise had been irrevocably changed. The sparkling Red Sea, home to beauty and wonder, now bore the shadow of an ancient predator, a lesson that the line between leisure and peril is as thin as the tide washing over the sand. In 2016, a trip to Badaling Wildlife Park in Beijing turned into a nightmare for one Chinese family. What started as a routine visit to the popular safari park ended in tragedy when Mrs. Zhao was killed by a tiger while trying to save her daughter, May. The horrifying incident, which unfolded in full view of her family, became a lifelong lesson about the dangers of getting too close to wild animals. It all began with a heated family argument inside their car. May, frustrated and upset, made the fateful decision to step out of the vehicle in an area clearly marked as off-limits. Almost immediately, a Siberian tiger lurking nearby seized the opportunity, clamping its powerful jaws on May and dragging her toward the underbrush. The sheer speed of the attack left her family in shock. In a moment of incredible bravery, Mrs. Zhao jumped out of the car to rescue her daughter. Without hesitation, she ran toward the tiger, trying to fend it off, but as she struggled to save May, another tiger appeared and attacked her. Tragically, Mrs. Zhao was mauled to death, sacrificing her life in an attempt to protect her child. May managed to survive the ordeal, but not without suffering severe, life-altering injuries. The entire incident was captured on CCTV, and the footage is as horrifying as you'd imagine. Park staff rushed to the scene in vehicles, but by the time they arrived, it was too late to save Mrs. Zhao. Her death left her family devastated and the public shaken. The tragedy sparked widespread debate about safety at the wildlife parks. The public questioned why a park with such dangerous animals didn't have more barriers or immediate safeguards in place to prevent visitors from leaving their vehicles. However, others pointed out that the park had clearly posted rules and warnings, and May's decision to exit the car ultimately led to the chain of events. The backlash didn't stop there. May faced public criticism for her actions, with many accusing her of not only endangering herself but also putting her entire family at risk. It was a harsh response to someone who had just survived a terrifying ordeal and lost her mother in the process. Badaling Wildlife Park temporarily closed after the incident to allow for an investigation. Officials reviewed the park's operations and safety measures but ultimately found no fault with its procedures. Despite this, the family pursued legal action against the park, though the outcome of their case didn't change the fact that the tragedy could have been avoided if the park rules had been followed. When the park reopened, it emphasized the importance of safety protocols, asking visitors to remain inside their vehicles at all times, and reinforcing its guidelines to prevent similar incidents in the future. While some saw this as a necessary step, others felt it was a constant reminder of the price one family had paid. Mrs. Zhao's actions were nothing short of heroic, but her death highlights the delicate balance between human fascination with wildlife and the risks that come with it. Safari parks offer a rare chance to see animals like tigers up close, but they also demand a deep respect for the power and unpredictability of these creatures. This heartbreaking story has become a cautionary tale about the consequences of stepping beyond boundaries, both literal and metaphorical. It's a reminder to all of us to take safety warnings seriously, especially in places where wild animals are involved. For Mrs. Zhao's family, the loss was deeply personal, but for the rest of us, it's a sobering lesson in the importance of respecting nature and its untamed beauty. In a chilling and tragic incident, a tourist visiting the picturesque Swat Valley in northwest Pakistan was dragged from a police station and brutally lynched by a mob, leaving the nation and the global community in shock. Accused of desecrating the Quran, Islam's holy book, the man's fate took a horrifying turn, showcasing the lethal power of mob violence fueled by accusations of blasphemy. The incident unfolded in Madyan, a tranquil summer retreat in Swat district known for its lush landscapes and serene beauty. However, the serenity was shattered when allegations against the tourist sparked fury among locals. The situation escalated rapidly as news spread and a large mob descended upon the area, driven by outrage and religious fervor. Local police initially intervened, rescuing the accused and taking him into protective custody. Their efforts, however, were short-lived. The mob, incited by fiery rhetoric reportedly broadcast from a nearby mosque, grew more determined. Overwhelmed and unable to contain the swelling crowd, the police were forced to retreat. Seizing the opportunity, the mob stormed the station, dragged the man into the streets, and subjected him to a brutal death. What followed was even more harrowing. Video footage captured on mobile phones showed the man's lifeless body being paraded through the streets, a grotesque display of collective rage. In a final act of violence, the mob set his body ablaze, turning the tragic incident into an even more horrifying spectacle. The footage quickly circulated on social media, sparking outrage and condemnation across Pakistan. Authorities confirmed that the violence left 11 people injured, including 8 police officers who had tried to hold back the enraged crowd. Malankan Division's regional police chief, Mohammed Ali Gandapur, pointed fingers at the local mosque, accusing it of inciting the mob by urging people to gather and demand vengeance. The situation spiraled further as the crowd swelled, reportedly including individuals as young as 13, whose anger was stoked by relentless propaganda. Efforts by police to clear blocked roads and disperse the crowd proved largely futile, with chaos reigning throughout the night. As the dust settled, the enormity of the tragedy became clear. Local authorities have since launched an extensive investigation, registering cases against hundreds of individuals believed to be involved in the incident. Additional security forces have been deployed to the region to prevent further unrest, but the damage to the area's reputation as a tourist destination has already been done. Hotels, once bustling with visitors eager to explore the scenic beauty of Swat Valley, now stand deserted as frightened tourists scramble to leave. The incident has cast a long shadow over the town, turning a place of natural beauty into the site of a grim, cautionary tale. This horrifying lynching is not an isolated event. Blasphemy accusations in Pakistan have long been a flashpoint for mob violence, often resulting in tragic consequences. The country's blasphemy laws, introduced during British colonial rule and made punishable by death in the 1980s, have become a rallying cry for extremist elements, often bypassing legal due process. Cases like this one highlight the dark underbelly of such accusations, where mere allegations can lead to deadly consequences without evidence or trial. In another recent case, a Christian man was fatally attacked after being accused of burning pages of the Quran. His death added to the grim tally of those who have fallen victim to vigilante justice fueled by religious zeal. These incidents reflect a growing trend of religion-fueled violence that continues to grip Pakistan, with mob mentality often taking precedence over law and order. The aftermath of this latest tragedy has left the nation grappling with difficult questions. On one hand, there is widespread outrage on social media, with many condemning the mob's actions as a barbaric and shameful affront to humanity. On the other hand, the fear of speaking out against such violence persists, with the risk of being labeled a blasphemer, a potentially fatal accusation in itself. For now, Madian remains a town shrouded in grief and fear, its streets haunted by the echoes of a tragedy that should never have happened. The beauty of Swat Valley has been overshadowed by the brutality of its darkest hour, a reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked mob violence in the name of religion. A family's dream vacation to the magical world of Disney took a devastating turn, transforming the happiest place on Earth into a scene of unimaginable heartbreak. What should have been an evening of laughter and wonder ended in tragedy when 2-year-old Lane Graves was snatched by an alligator and dragged into the dark waters of the Seven Seas Lagoon. The horror unfolded late on a warm Tuesday evening as families gathered along the sandy shores of the artificial lake at Disney's Grand Floridian Resort. The air was alive with the sounds of fireworks bursting over the nearby Magic Kingdom and the soft hum of an open-air movie playing in the background. Lane, the youngest of his family from Elkhorn, Nebraska, had been playing near the water's edge, a picture of innocence and joy. In a flash, the tranquil moment shattered. A sudden splash drew Lane's father's attention, the sound seeming harmless at first, perhaps a fish breaking the surface, or so he thought. But within seconds, his worst fears materialized. The splash wasn't innocent. His son was in the jaws of an alligator, its powerful body blending seamlessly with the murky lagoon. Desperation surged through Lane's father as he lunged into the water, his instincts overcoming the sheer terror of confronting the predator. He wrestled furiously with the creature, clawing and fighting to free his son. But the alligator's grip was unrelenting, its primal power unstoppable. Before he could save Lane, the animal vanished beneath the surface, taking the boy into the depths of the lagoon. The scene spiraled into chaos as emergency calls were made and rescuers raced to the resort. The shoreline, once lively and filled with the laughter of vacationers, became a staging ground for a frantic search and rescue operation. Dozens of personnel, equipped with sonar technology and divers, scoured the lagoon through the long night, their efforts driven by the faint hope of a miracle. By the following afternoon, hope gave way to devastating reality. After an exhaustive 16-hour search, divers recovered Lane's lifeless body. His small form was found intact just beneath the surface, not far from where he had been taken. The alligator, estimated to be between 4 and 7 feet long, had disappeared without a trace. The grief-stricken family, who had arrived at the resort only days earlier to begin their summer break, faced an unimaginable loss. What began as a celebration of togetherness had become a nightmare, etched into their lives forever. The incident cast a shadow over the resort and beyond, a reminder of nature's unpredictable force, even in seemingly controlled environments. Signs warning against swimming in the lagoon dotted the area, but none specifically mentioned alligators, an oversight now under scrutiny. The Seven Seas Lagoon, like much of Florida, is part of a habitat where alligators are a natural presence, their silent, lurking forms hidden just below the waterline. The tragedy sent shivers across the nation, sparking a conversation about wildlife safety in recreational areas. For Lane's family, however, no measure of policy or change could undo the loss. They had come to Disney seeking wonder and joy, only to leave carrying the weight of unthinkable sorrow. Even as the fireworks continued to light up the skies above the Magic Kingdom, nobody could forget the little boy and how quickly life's joys can be pierced by nature's darker truths. The ocean's vastness has always been a world of mysteries, where exploration often means risking the unknown. This was tragically proven in 2016 when a young surfer named Lance Appleby met his end at the Granite's Beach on the Eyre Peninsula. What was supposed to be a peaceful evening surf quickly turned into a horrifying ordeal, one that would end with Lance's life claimed by the very waters he loved. It all began with a simple surf session on the evening of Thursday, January 7th, when Lance, a 28-year-old from Port Lincoln, was out enjoying the waves. The evening had started like any other, with Lance catching waves and soaking up the summer sun. But as the sky dimmed, disaster struck. As Lance paddled back after riding a wave, he was suddenly attacked by a shark. The unprovoked assault came without warning, and in the blink of an eye, Lance was in the grip of the predator. Witnesses recalled the chilling moment. Local resident Jeff Schumacher, a family friend, shared his heartbreaking account of the attack. He caught a wave and flipped off, and then, as he paddled back, he was attacked, Jeff recalled. Amid the chaos, it was clear that Lance had no time to react. A surfboard, found floating nearby, would later reveal a deep bite mark, proof of the shark's forceful strike. Even more disturbing, the rope of the board had been severed, leaving no doubt that the attack was swift and powerful. Emergency services were immediately called, and the search for Lance began just as night fell. But as hours ticked by, the reality of the situation sank in. The search, while extensive, couldn't bring Lance back. His body was never found, and the community was left in shock and grief. As the word of the attack spread, the locals felt the pain deeply. Lance was a familiar face in Port Lincoln, someone known for his bright spirit and love for the ocean. This tragedy hit home for the community, as many had either surfed with him or watched him ride the waves in their hometown. "It just hits everyone so hard, especially the locals," said Jeff, capturing the collective grief of a town left to process the loss of one of their own. Lance had been in the area visiting family for Christmas. He had grown up surfing the waves of the Eyre Peninsula and had recently begun his apprenticeship as a carpenter. In many ways, he was just starting his life, filled with hope and promise. His death, so sudden and violent, left a void that could never be filled. The Granite's Beach, known for its rugged beauty and wild surf, is also infamous for shark attacks. This was not the first time the region had seen such a tragedy, but it was the one that hit the hardest. As the community reeled from the attack, conversations about shark safety and awareness resurfaced. While the ocean can be beautiful and tranquil, it also holds dangers that can turn deadly in an instant. In the wake of Lance's death, many began to reflect on the risks that come with living so close to the ocean. Surfing, like many outdoor adventures, carries inherent dangers, and the loss of Lance was a painful reminder of just how quickly things can go wrong. Though it was a tragic end for a young man with a bright future, Lance's memory lives on in Port Lincoln, where the surf and the sea are as much a part of the community as its people. Though no one will ever forget that fateful evening, Lance's spirit lives on in the waves he once rode. His family, friends, and the people of Port Lincoln carry his memory with them, and his story serves as a somber reminder of the power and unpredictability of nature. The sea remains a beautiful and untamable force, both a place of wonder and a reminder of the fragile line between life and death. Backpacking through Southeast Asia is often a rite of passage, promising adventure, discovery, and stories to last a lifetime. But for two young women, Holly Bowles and Bianca Jones, their journey to the vibrant town of Vang, Vieng, Laos, became a descent into an unimaginable nightmare. What began as an ordinary stop at a popular hostel ended in tragedy, leaving behind a story that haunts travelers to this day. Nana Backpackers, nestled in the heart of Vang Vieng, was the kind of place where the world's young and restless came together. Known for its wild parties and free-flowing drinks, the hostel pulsed with music and laughter. On November 9, 2019, the carefree atmosphere masked a danger that no one saw coming. Among the backpackers soaking in the lively vibe that day was Lily, a British traveler who would soon become a reluctant witness to a horrifying chain of events. It all began innocently enough. Lily had accepted just 2 free vodka shots from the bar, served by Toan, a charismatic bartender who had become a familiar face to guests. The drinks flowed, and the hostel hummed with energy. But something about those drinks was off, terribly off. Not long after, Lily's world turned upside down. A creeping nausea gave way to waves of violent illness. Her vision blurred, and soon she was plunged into terrifying darkness, her temporary blindness leaving her disoriented and panicked. Her body convulsed as she vomited endlessly, her heart racing to an unbearable 170 beats per minute. The fear was overwhelming. What was happening to her? Unbeknownst to Lily, her ordeal was just the beginning. 2 other travelers, Holly Bowles and Bianca Jones, were staying at the same hostel. Both were vibrant 19-year-olds, brimming with the thrill of exploring the world. That night, they too fell victim to the same mysterious poison. By the time Holly and Bianca sought medical help, the damage had been done. Holly's condition deteriorated rapidly, and she was rushed to a hospital in Thailand. But even the advanced care in Bangkok couldn't save her. She passed away within days, her family left to grapple with the devastating loss. Bianca followed soon after, her loved ones confirming her death just days apart from Holly's. In the days that followed, the grim puzzle began to take shape. Authorities turned their attention to Toan, the bartender who had poured the fatal drinks. When questioned, he insisted the vodka was straight from the factory, untouched and untainted. To prove his innocence, he poured himself a shot and drank it in front of investigators. His claim seemed plausible, but the damage was undeniable. As news of the deaths spread, Lily came forward with her story. Her chilling account added a new layer of urgency to the investigation. She had narrowly survived, but the symptoms she described, temporary blindness, relentless vomiting, and a dangerously high heart rate, painted a picture of acute alcohol poisoning or something far more sinister. The hostel, once buzzing with life, became a somber scene of mourning and suspicion. The lively music was replaced with whispers of fear and grief as travelers packed their bags and moved on, shaken by what had unfolded. The tragedies of Holly and Bianca struck a nerve with the global backpacking community. The allure of Southeast Asia, with its stunning landscapes and party culture, now carried an ominous warning. Not everything is as it seems. Tales of counterfeit or tainted alcohol had long been whispered among seasoned travelers, but these deaths brought the danger into sharp focus. Back home, the families of Holly and Bianca were left with more questions than answers. How could such vibrant lives be cut short so senselessly? Could something have been done to prevent this? For Lily, the survivor, the experience was a stark reminder of how quickly adventure can turn to peril. The investigation into Nana backpackers and its practices continued, but for many, the damage was already done. The tragic deaths of Holly and Bianca, coupled with Lily's harrowing escape, remain a haunting reminder of the unpredictable dangers lurking in even the most inviting corners of the world. Their story serves as both a cautionary tale and a call for greater awareness. Beneath the surface of carefree adventures lies the ever-present risk of the unknown. Sometimes, the greatest dangers are the ones we never see coming. Yellowstone National Park is a place where beauty and danger exist side by side. A landscape of stunning thermal pools, geysers, and steaming hot springs that hint at the volatile forces beneath the Earth's surface. For 23-year-old Colin Scott, a recent college graduate from Portland, Oregon, a visit to this extraordinary park should have been a thrilling adventure, but on June 7, 2016, his curiosity led to a devastating tragedy that left nothing behind but haunting memories. Colin was visiting his sister Sable, who lived nearby, and the siblings decided to explore Yellowstone together. Their journey brought them to the Norris Geyser Basin, an area famous for its vibrant thermal features and unpredictable terrain. The park's many signs warned visitors to stay on the boardwalks, designated paths built to keep people safe from the fragile ground and deadly hot springs. However, the siblings chose to ignore these warnings, drawn by the allure of something forbidden. With Sable recording their adventure on her phone, the pair wandered into a restricted area. They were reportedly looking for a spot to hot pot, a risky and illegal activity where people attempt to soak in the park's thermal pools. While these steaming waters may appear inviting, they are far from safe. Heated by underground volcanic activity, the pools can reach scalding temperatures and contain highly acidic chemicals capable of dissolving organic material. As they ventured farther off the boardwalk, the unthinkable happened. Colin slipped and fell into one of the boiling springs. Sable, just steps away, could only watch in horror as her brother was engulfed by the scalding, acidic water. The tragedy unfolded quickly and mercilessly, leaving no time for rescue. Frantic, Sable called for help, and park rangers rushed to the scene. However, the conditions in the Norris Geyser Basin were too treacherous to mount an immediate recovery. The unstable ground and intense heat posed grave risks to rescuers, and an incoming lightning storm forced them to retreat. When they returned the next day, Colin's body was gone, dissolved by the boiling, corrosive water. The National Park Service later released a report on the incident, shedding light on the events leading up to the tragedy. Deputy Chief Ranger explained that the siblings had deliberately left the safety of the boardwalk in search of a thermal pool. It was a decision with fatal consequences. Sable later told investigators that Colin had been visiting her to celebrate his recent college graduation, and the trip to Yellowstone was meant to be a highlight of their time together. The Norris Geyser Basin is one of the park's most active thermal areas, where water temperatures often exceed 200 degrees Fahrenheit, which is approximately 93 degrees Celsius. These natural wonders may look serene, but they are anything but. The acidic waters and extreme heat make them incredibly dangerous, a reality tragically underscored by Colin's accident. Yellowstone's geothermal features are both mesmerizing and lethal, shaped by powerful volcanic forces beneath the Earth's crust. While the park's rules and warning signs exist to protect visitors, Colin's story is a reminder of what can happen when those warnings are ignored. Even a single step off the designated path can have catastrophic consequences. For those who knew Colin, the loss was immeasurable. What should have been a joyous celebration of his accomplishments became a cautionary tale about the unforgiving nature of the world's wild places. His death serves as proof that Yellowstone's beauty comes with immense power, and that power must be respected. Colin's story lingers as both a warning and a sobering lesson. Yellowstone is a place where the raw forces of nature are on full display, beautiful, mysterious, and utterly unforgiving. For all its wonder, it demands respect, reminding us that in its grandeur lies a potent and perilous power. Timothy Treadwell, famously known as the Grizzly Man, was someone who loved bears so much that he dedicated his life to living among them in the wild. But his fascination with these powerful creatures ultimately led to his horrifying death, along with his girlfriend, Amy Huguenard. The details of their final moments, captured in an audio recording, paint a chilling picture of their last minutes alive. Timothy's obsession with grizzlies started when he was a kid. He loved camping trips with his family in Alaska, where he'd see these massive animals up close. Over time, that fascination turned into an obsession. Every summer, Timothy packed up and headed to Alaska's Katmai National Park, where he'd live among the bears for months. He believed he had a special bond with them and often got dangerously close, even touching them. While his unique approach earned him some fans, it also raised a lot of eyebrows. Many warned him he was playing with fire. But Timothy didn't listen. He was convinced he could live safely among the bears, and even protect them from poachers and harm. This belief drove him to keep returning, despite the obvious risks. In 2003, his girlfriend Amy joined him on what would become their last trip. The couple had planned to head home on a seaplane, but just hours before their scheduled flight, disaster struck. A bear attacked them at their campsite, and the terrifying encounter was caught on tape. Although the camera lens cap stayed on, the audio recorded 6 agonizing minutes of their struggle. The recording starts with Amy nervously asking if the bear is still outside. Timothy's voice, panicked and desperate, yells, "Get out here! I'm getting killed out here!" You can hear the tent zipper as Amy rushes out, shouting at him to play dead, hoping the bear might lose interest. But things quickly spiraled out of control. Timothy's screams are gut-wrenching as the bear seems to let go of him for a moment. Amy, trying to help, gets too close, and the bear attacks again. It clamps its jaws around Timothy's head as he cries out for her to hit the bear. Armed with nothing but a frying pan, Amy fights back with everything she has, shouting at Timothy to fight back. Their desperate struggle continues, filled with screams and chaos, until the tape abruptly cuts off. The next morning, their pilot, Willie Fulton, arrived to pick them up. He immediately sensed something was wrong. Instead of seeing Timothy and Amy waiting by the shore as usual, there was silence. Then he spotted a massive, aggressive bear standing over a pile of human remains. It was a horrifying sight he would never forget. When park rangers arrived at the scene, they found the couple's campsite in ruins. The tent was flattened, their gear was torn apart, and even their snacks were untouched. Nearby, they discovered grisly remains, a severed arm, fingers, and Timothy's head. The bears had buried some of the remains in a pile of grass and mud, a behavior typical of predators protecting their food. Timothy's death sparked massive debates. Some argued that his reckless behavior and refusal to follow safety rules not only endangered his life, but also disrupted the natural balance between humans and wildlife. Many felt he overstepped boundaries, turning what could have been a powerful conservation message into a tragedy. Others admired his passion, even if they thought he took it too far. This heartbreaking story is a proof of nature's raw power. While Timothy's love for grizzlies was undeniable, his tragic end shows what can happen when fascination turns into recklessness. Wild animals are just that, wild. They're not meant to be treated like pets or friends, no matter how much we admire them. Though Timothy wanted to protect grizzlies and shed light on their lives, his death, and Amy's, shows the importance of respecting the line between humans and wildlife. Story is haunting, especially the final audio that captured their desperate fight for survival. It's a tale that will always serve as a chilling reminder of the dangers of underestimating the wild. What began as a lighthearted moment turned into a harrowing tragedy when a Chinese businessman's fascination with a 1.5-ton walrus led to a fatal encounter. Jia Lijun, an ardent admirer of the walrus housed at a zoo in Liaoning Province, China, had often shared his enthusiasm with friends and family. He'd sent them photos and videos of the colossal marine mammal, marveling at its sheer size and strength with messages like, "So strong, so big." Yet his admiration took a deadly turn during an ill-fated visit. Driven by his affection for the walrus, Li Jun decided to get up close and personal, entering the gated enclosure to snap a selfie. Clutching his selfie stick, he approached the massive female walrus, unaware of the danger lurking beneath her playful demeanor. In a tragic twist, the walrus suddenly grabbed him from behind, her enormous flippers wrapping around his body. She dragged Li Jun into the pool within the enclosure, her strength proving too great to resist. A zookeeper, who had cared for the walrus since she was a calf, immediately rushed to Li Jun's aid. This caretaker, familiar with the animal's habits and trusting of her typically gentle nature, dove into the water in an attempt to rescue the businessman. However, the walrus, seemingly mistaking the entire ordeal for play, pulled the zookeeper under as well. The scene turned grim as both men were overpowered and drowned by the massive creature's weight and strength. What made the tragedy even more heart-wrenching was the likely innocence of the walrus's intentions. Reports suggest the animal was not acting out of aggression, but rather in a misguided attempt to play and offer what she perceived as a hug. Her actions, though fatal, were an extension of her natural behavior, a tragic reminder of the inherent risks in close encounters with wild animals, even those accustomed to human care. The incident, captured on a zoo surveillance camera, quickly went viral on Chinese social media. The footage, while chilling, underscored the immense power of these marine mammals and the unpredictable consequences of human interaction with them. In the video, the walrus's movements, initially slow and almost gentle, escalate into a chaotic struggle, culminating in the devastating loss of 2 lives. Li Jun's tragic demise served as a somber warning about the thin line between admiration and overstepping boundaries in wildlife settings. While his intentions may have been purely innocent, his decision to enter the enclosure placed him directly in harm's way. The zookeeper's death, meanwhile, highlighted the deep bond and sense of responsibility that caretakers often feel for the animals they raise, a devotion that can lead them into perilous situations. The walrus, despite being at the center of this tragic event, remained unharmed and is believed to have returned to her regular routines. Experts and animal behaviorists weighed in on the incident, emphasizing that such animals, even when raised in captivity, retain their natural instincts and can unintentionally pose significant risks to humans. The tragedy sparked widespread discussions online and within wildlife conservation circles about the responsibilities of zoos and visitors alike. Many called for stricter safety protocols to prevent similar accidents in the future, arguing that better education on the risks of human-wildlife interaction could save lives. For Jia Lijun's family and the loved ones of the zookeeper, however, no amount of policy change can undo the loss. The incident stands as a poignant reminder of the respect and caution required when interacting with nature's most majestic and powerful creatures. What began as an attempt to capture a moment of connection ended in heartbreak, leaving behind a haunting lesson. In the presence of wild animals, even the most innocent of In the early hours of a stormy morning on Mount Warning in northern New South Wales, Australia, a tragic turn of events shattered the dreams of 2 young adventurers. Sam Beatty, a 24-year-old American backpacker from New York, lost his life in a freak lightning strike that illuminated the summit where he and his girlfriend, Michelle Segela, had pitched their tent. The couple had embarked on what was meant to be a year-long journey across Australia, a time to explore the country's vast landscapes in a camper van and savor the freedom of the open road. They had arrived 8 weeks earlier, brimming with excitement for the adventures that lay ahead. But on that fateful Tuesday, their plans were struck down by the raw power of nature. In the dead of night, as a thunderstorm raged across the mountain, a bolt of lightning tore through the sky, striking a towering tree above their tent. The energy surged downward, instantly claiming Sam's life. Michelle, just inches away, survived but suffered head and neck injuries, left dazed and reeling in the aftermath of the strike. The echo of the thunder was replaced by her cries, carrying through the storm until they reached 2 hikers nearby. It was the hikers who raised the alarm, rushing to the scene to find Michelle in shock and Sam unresponsive. Despite their desperate efforts to revive him, attempting CPR for over an hour, it became clear that the lightning had been merciless. Sam had died instantly, his life snuffed out in a flash of brilliance that no one could have foreseen. Emergency services were called, and a rescue team of 25 worked tirelessly to recover Sam's body from the mountain summit. The descent was arduous, taking nearly 2 hours to navigate the rugged terrain in the pouring rain. Meanwhile, Michelle was treated for her injuries and taken to Murwillumbah Base Hospital, where she began to process the devastating loss of her partner. Mount Warning, also known as Volumbin to the indigenous Bunjalung people, rises to 1,550 meters and is a popular destination for hikers drawn to its breathtaking views. But its beauty belies the dangers that can emerge without warning. Camping is strictly prohibited on the summit, and climbers are strongly advised to avoid the peak during thunderstorms. On this occasion, however, the rules of safety were tragically overshadowed by the allure of adventure. Sam's untimely death was a cruel reminder of nature's unpredictable and unforgiving power. What began as a night of closeness and wonder under the stars ended in heartbreak, leaving Michelle to grapple with the loss of her companion and the memories of a journey that was tragically cut short. Mitten Warning, a place of awe and inspiration, became the setting for unimaginable sorrow. We should all remember that the wilderness, though captivating, holds dangers that can strike without notice or mercy. In 2014, a tragic incident unfolded at New Delhi Zoo that shocked onlookers and left many questioning the boundaries of human fascination with wildlife. Maksud Khan, a 22-year-old man, fell victim to his intense obsession with tigers, a fascination that ultimately cost him his life in a way both chilling and unforgettable. Maksud's ill-fated encounter occurred in the tiger enclosure of the zoo, home to Vijay, a 7-year-old white tiger belonging to an endangered species. On that fateful day, Maksud climbed over the enclosure barrier and into the moat below, putting himself directly in the path of the predator. Visitors watched in stunned silence as Maksud came face-to-face with Vijay in what could only be described as a terrifying standoff. For nearly 15 minutes, Vijay observed Maksud, seemingly unsure of his intentions. Onlookers, frozen in fear, could do nothing but watch as the scene unfolded. Some filmed the encounter, capturing the unsettling calm before the tragedy. Despite the apparent stillness, the situation grew increasingly dire. A few members of the crowd attempted to distract the tiger by shouting and throwing stones, but their efforts only added tension to an already precarious moment. As the minutes ticked by, the fragile balance was shattered. Vijay lunged, grabbing Maksud by the neck and dragging him deeper into the enclosure. Screams erupted from the crowd as the horrific scene played out before their eyes. Witnesses later described their helplessness, one recalling the gruesome sight of Maksud writhing badly in pain as he was mauled by the powerful animal. Panic spread through the zoo as authorities scrambled to respond. The rescue effort was complicated by Vijay's behavior, as the tiger fiercely guarded its territory and prey. It took 2 long hours for zoo staff to coax Vijay into a smaller holding cage, allowing them to retrieve Maksud's remains. By then, it was too late. The injuries sustained during the attack were fatal. The incident sparked widespread debate and media attention, with many questioning the events leading up to the attack. Speculation arose about whether Maksud had intentionally entered the enclosure or had fallen by accident. Some reports suggested he had been mentally unwell, while others pointed to negligence in the zoo's security measures. People were quick to point fingers after the tragedy, blaming the zoo for not having better barriers and emergency plans in place. Many believed that Maksud's death could have been avoided if stricter safety measures had been in place. Others raised bigger questions, like whether it's even fair to keep such majestic creatures in captivity, especially in enclosures that don't come close to mimicking their natural homes. Animal rights activists were also vocal, saying Vijay wasn't being cruel or aggressive. It was just acting on instinct, doing what tigers naturally do when they feel threatened or territorial. Maksud's death became a reminder of what can happen when humans ignore the boundaries between themselves and wild animals. Zoos might be designed to teach us about the wonders of nature, but this tragic incident showed just how important it is to respect the power of wildlife. The sight of a white tiger, so beautiful yet so dangerous, left a lasting impression on everyone who saw the horrifying event. Afterward, the zoo tightened its safety protocols, putting up stronger barriers and increasing surveillance to avoid anything like this from happening again. Still, Maksud's story remains unforgettable for those who were there, a warning about how quickly curiosity can turn into catastrophe when we forget the wild isn't something to mess with. The tragic case of McKenzie Macowski, a 31-year-old American tourist, has left her family and friends reeling as they grapple with the shocking loss of their loved one. McKenzie, a neurosurgery nurse practitioner from Portland, Oregon, had embarked on what she envisioned as a joyful vacation in Budapest, Hungary, a city she affectionately called her happy place. However, her life was brutally cut short in a chilling series of events that unfolded in early November. McKenzie was last seen on November 5th at a bustling nightclub in central Budapest. Her disappearance triggered a frantic search, with her family, friends, and Hungarian authorities rallying to find her. Security footage revealed her in the company of a man, later identified as 37-year-old LTM, who would soon become the prime suspect. Their movements were tracked across multiple clubs on the night she vanished. On November 7th, the suspect, an Irish citizen, was apprehended and taken into custody. During questioning, he confessed to the killing, but his statements left investigators grappling with the grim details of what had transpired. Hungarian police pieced together a chilling narrative. The two had left the nightclub together and gone to the suspect's rented apartment, where their evening turned deadly. According to police, McKenzie was killed during an intimate encounter. The suspect claimed her death was accidental, though the exact cause remains under investigation. Authorities have noted that the suspect went to great lengths to conceal his crime. He reportedly cleaned the apartment and hid McKenzie's body in a wardrobe. The following day, he purchased a suitcase, placed her body inside, and rented a car to dispose of her remains. Driving approximately 90 miles southwest to the serene shores of Lake Balaton, the suspect left the suitcase containing McKenzie's body in a wooded area near the town of Zigliget. Video footage released by police captured him leading investigators to the scene where her body was recovered, a stark and haunting reminder of the crime's brutality. The investigation uncovered disturbing evidence, including the suspect's internet search history. Authorities revealed he had researched ways to dispose of a body, police procedures for missing persons, and the behaviors of wild boars, searching whether they could consume human remains. He even inquired about the capabilities of the Budapest police, a chilling indication of his premeditation. At the crime scene, police discovered the suitcase along with several of McKenzie's personal belongings, including fleece-lined boots, a handbag, and a credit card bearing her name. These items painted a heart-wrenching picture of a vibrant young woman whose life had been senselessly taken. The case has not only devastated McKenzie's loved ones, but has also cast a shadow over Budapest, a city beloved by tourists for its vibrant culture and stunning architecture. Hotels and nightlife spots in the area are grappling with the fallout as the chilling details of the crime send ripples of fear through both locals and visitors. While the suspect remains in custody, the lingering questions surrounding McKenzie's final moments and the senseless violence that ended her life continue to weigh heavily. Her story serves as a harrowing reminder of the fragility of safety, even in places we hold dear. As her family seeks justice and closure, they honor the memory of a bright and compassionate woman whose dreams were tragically cut short. What was meant to be a thrilling adventure in Bali turned into a chilling tragedy that no one saw coming. A 25-year-old Swedish tourist who had come to the island with two friends met a terrifying fate on the slopes of Mount Batur. one of the island's most iconic yet unpredictable volcanoes. What began as a simple hike to witness a sunrise would soon spiral into a nightmare that would leave everyone reeling. The three friends embarked on their pre-dawn trek up the 5,600-foot Mount Batur, a destination famed for its breathtaking views of the sunrise over Bali. Located about 40 miles northeast of Denpasar, the volcano attracts hikers eager to witness its awe-inspiring panoramas and the vibrant hues of the morning sky. The trail leading up to the summit is well-trodden, and the steep edges of the crater's rim have become a known path for those seeking the perfect shot or moment of reflection. But in the shadows of its jagged cliffs, something far more sinister waited. As the group made their way along the narrow, crumbling rim of the crater, disaster struck. The young tourist, unaware of the peril beneath his feet, lost his balance and plummeted into the abyss. Falling over 500 feet into the depths of the volcano, the impact was swift and final. Authorities later confirmed that he did not survive the fall. The hours that followed were filled with frantic efforts to retrieve the body. The terrain surrounding the crater is treacherous, its steep walls and unstable rock formations creating an almost insurmountable obstacle for rescuers. As they made their way down into the crater, the weather began to turn against them. Fog, heavy rains, and poor visibility slowed the operation, and it was clear that time was running out. Mount Batur, an active volcano known for its regular steam emissions and occasional eruptions, has claimed the lives of other adventurers before. With 26 eruptions recorded since 1840, the mountain's fury is a constant reminder of the volatile forces that lie beneath its surface. Despite its menacing reputation, the volcano is often considered a relatively safe destination for tourists, at least on the well-maintained paths leading to the summit. But the tragic incident that unfolded on that fateful day raised an unsettling question. How well do we truly understand the dangers of nature, even in the most popular and frequently visited locations? For the two remaining friends, the events of that day would haunt them forever. What was supposed to be a life-changing experience, an opportunity to witness one of the world's most spectacular sunrises, was shattered by an unpredictable force. In the end, the tragic accident served as a stark reminder that nature, no matter how inviting or beautiful, harbors dangers that cannot always be seen or anticipated. As rescue teams finally retrieved the body of the young tourist from the crater, the island of Bali seemed to hold its breath. Local authorities expressed their sympathy, while also emphasizing the inherent risks of such remote and challenging landscapes. Hiking Mount Batur may have been a dream for many, but it was now a nightmare for one family, and a lesson for the rest of us that even the most enchanting places on Earth can harbor the most unforeseen dangers. For Bali, its beauty is undeniable, but this incident serves as a chilling reminder that beneath the stunning vistas and panoramic views lies the raw, unpredictable power of nature. The death of the Swedish tourist, lost in the vast depths of Mount Batur, now stands as an eerie testament. A tragic and shocking incident occurred at a safari park in South Africa when a lioness attacked and killed 29-year-old Catherine Chappell, a talented editor from the Game of Thrones TV series. The horrific attack took place at the Lion Park, located about 30 kilometers north of Johannesburg, on a Monday in 2015. Catherine, a passionate traveler from the United States, had been on a safari tour with friends when the terrifying event unfolded. The lioness, with no warning, leaped through an open car window and immediately started mauling Catherine. The assistant manager of the park, Scott Simpson, described the terrifying scene, confirming that the animal swiftly jumped through the window and began attacking her. In the same vehicle, another person, believed to be the tour guide, was also injured during the attack and was later treated for his injuries. The incident has raised concerns about safety protocols at the park, especially since the park's rules clearly warn visitors to keep their windows up while driving through the large cat enclosures. It's a basic safety precaution that sadly wasn't followed during this excursion, leading to the deadly outcome. Catherine Chappell had been part of the Game of Thrones team, contributing her skills to the Emmy-winning episode The Children in 2014. As an editor, she played a pivotal role in shaping the show's compelling storytelling and impressive visuals. Her untimely death left the entertainment world in shock, as fans and colleagues mourned the loss of a talented and driven young woman. The Lion Park, a popular tourist destination known for its large cat enclosures and thrilling safari experiences, was temporarily closed following the attack as an investigation began into the incident. Visitors to the park are reminded of the potential dangers when interacting with wildlife and the importance of following safety guidelines to prevent such tragedies from occurring in the future. This heartbreaking incident also sparked a wider discussion about the risks of wildlife tourism and the boundaries between humans and animals in captivity. While safari parks like the Lion Park offer an incredible chance to see majestic animals up close, they also come with inherent dangers that visitors should never take lightly. Wild animals, even those raised in captivity, still maintain their instinctual behaviors and can be unpredictable, particularly when they feel threatened or provoked. In the wake of the tragedy, many are left to reflect on the fragility of life and the importance of respecting nature's power. Catherine's death, while a heartbreaking accident, serves as a grim reminder of the need for caution when interacting with wild animals, no matter how safe or controlled the environment might seem. As the investigation into the incident continues, it remains a somber moment in the broader conversation about wildlife conservation and human interaction with the animal kingdom. Catherine's legacy, particularly in the Game of Thrones community, will live on through the iconic work she helped bring to life. Her talent and passion for editing continue to inspire others in the film and television industry. While her life was tragically cut short, her impact on the entertainment world is undeniable, and her memory will always be cherished by those who knew her. A moment of thrill-seeking turned fatal when 32-year-old Spaniard David Gonzalez Lopez lost his life after being gored by a bull while attempting to take a selfie during a bull run in Villaseca de la Sagra. The tragedy unfolded in the early hours of Sunday, leaving onlookers in shock as Lopez suffered grievous injuries that proved fatal. Lopez, eager to capture the intensity of the event, turned his back on the charging bulls, focusing instead on his phone's screen. Oblivious to the imminent danger, he failed to notice one bull breaking away from the herd and heading straight for him. The animal delivered a devastating attack, goring him in the neck and thigh and tossing him into the air as horrified spectators looked on. A video of the incident, now widely shared, reveals the chilling sequence of events. Lopez had ventured out of the safety of the protected area into the center of the arena. As he filmed the chaotic scene, including a collision between two bulls that left one appearing unconscious, a third bull spotted him. With a sudden burst of speed, the animal charged, striking Lopez from behind and lifting him off the ground with its powerful horns. Emergency responders rushed Lopez to the hospital, but despite their efforts, he succumbed to his injuries shortly after arrival. Villaseca de la Sagra, a town known for its annual bull running festival, is one of many Spanish locales that celebrate this controversial tradition. During these events, crowds gather to run ahead of a herd of bulls released onto the streets or into arenas. The adrenaline-fueled spectacle draws participants and spectators from far and wide, but has long been a source of heated debate. Animal rights campaigners have condemned the practice as cruel and inhumane, arguing that the events subject the bulls to unnecessary stress and suffering. Critics also point to the risks posed to human participants, with injuries and fatalities occurring almost every year. The death of David Gonzalez Lopez adds yet another tragic chapter to the contentious history of bull running festivals. Lopez, a resident of the nearby town of Villasequilla, had attended the event with friends. Known to be adventurous, he likely sought to immortalize the thrill of the festival on his phone, unaware of the deadly consequences his actions would bring. The incident has reignited discussions about the dangers of prioritizing digital documentation over personal safety. Experts have increasingly warned about the risks of selfie culture, where the pursuit of the perfect shot can lead individuals to ignore their surroundings in precarious situations. Lopez's death is a stark reminder of how quickly moments of excitement can turn into tragedy. While bull running remains deeply ingrained in Spanish culture, events like this have prompted growing calls for reform or outright bans on such festivals. Advocates argue that the time has come to replace these risky and contentious traditions with safer, more humane celebrations. For now, the town of Vilaseca de la Sagra mourns the loss of a life cut short amidst the chaos of its storied festival. The tragedy leaves an indelible mark on all who witnessed it, underscoring the inherent risks of a tradition where man and beast collide in an arena of raw danger. What should have been a night of revelry and excitement ended in heartbreak, reminding us that in the pursuit of thrill or spectacle, safety must never be forgotten.